4 divisions, 4 hosts, all battling it out for the Holy Grail of the American Hockey League, the Calder Cup. This is the Holy Grail Podcast with Andrew Rinaldi, Dina Weinheimer, Jeremy Paul, Michael Liu, and Zach Powell.
Hello and welcome to episode 11 of Field Pass Hockey's AHL podcast, the Holy Grail. We've made it to 11 episodes. It's just about Christmas and the holidays. And here at the Holy Grail, we're all about all things American Hockey League and the yearly race to that Holy Grail, the Calder Cup. Before we get too far into this, we're going to go around the screen a little bit and introduce ourselves. And we'll start in alphabetical order, as always. And we'll start at the bottom with Andrew.
All right. I'm Andrew Rinaldi. For those who haven't tuned in, I am the beat writer here at Field Pass Hockey for the Chicago Wolves and Grand Rapids Griffins. This is my second year here, and we got a good one going for you guys this week, so buckle in.
Well, what's going on, everyone? I missed you. Y'all killed it on the shorthanded episode. Shorthanded 2 folks. I mean, come on now. So my name's Jeremy. I am the Rochester Americans beat writer for Field Pass Hockey, and I am in my first year covering the team. Love coming together with you all to talk some hockey, talk some postponements, and yeah, Andrew's right. We got a really good one for you guys today.
I'm Zach Power. I'm the writer here for the Toronto Marlies. I'm in my 3rd season covering here now, and it's an exciting one, but not as exciting as our new host who's joining us for this week's episode, Michael.
Hello, I'm Michael. This is my first year covering the Abbotsford Canucks, the Abbotsford Canucks being their first season as well for Field Pass Hockey. And I agreed to come on to this in the summer, but thanks to a bunch of scheduling conflicts as well as a literal natural disaster, it hasn't materialized. But I'm excited to be on the show now. I'm excited to help all y'all do an awesome job and keep the good times rolling.
Yeah, well, we're glad to have you here. And before we get into the meat of the show and talk some postponements and protocols and all that fun stuff, we got something real special for you guys this week here. All right, we got a special guest here for you this week on the Holy Grail. Hailing from Uppsala, Sweden, our guest was drafted 33rd overall in 2018 by the Detroit Red Wings after putting up 57 points in 38 games in the Swedish Junior League. 3 years later, he's putting on a show in Grand Rapids, is considered one of the top prospects for an up-and-coming Detroit team. Some of the softest hands in the AHL, and with 0 penalty minutes in 22 games, well, I guess he's just a nice guy. Ladies and gentlemen, Jonatan Berggren. Jonatan, thanks for joining the show with us.
Thank you. It's fun to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know we're having a lot of fun here. I want to start off with your arrival in North America, going through all the training camps in Traverse City and everything. I kind of want to know, what was the biggest difference kind of being over here versus being back home in Sweden, other than, a McDonald's on every corner of the road?
Yeah, that's true. You have a lot of McDonald's here.
What was, what other kind of big differences did you see between being here in the States versus being back home?
I think it's pretty much, of course, the language. It's a new language for me. And, be on a new team, it was the first time I have been in Skellefteå in 5 years, so I have I'm feeling safe there and stuff. So it was weird to meet new people, new coaches, new players. So it was a bit different, but also very fun.
Yeah, we kind of want to go a bit more into that, but before you came over to North America, your team in the SHL, you had a big run in the playoffs, capped off with a showdown with a name you're going to hear a lot in the coming years, Mort Cider. You guys kind of went head-to-head there in the semifinals. How hard was it to play against him, and kind of what was your takeaway of his game?
I don't know. they had a really good team last season, Rögle, and of course, they played really good. So it was tough and really fun games to play against them in the semifinals, and sadly they won the last game. So, but he's a really skilled player. You can see this season that he has, of course, a good season. So, and I haven't talked to him so much, but the times I met him is it's feeling like he's a really good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and over the course of the last few years, you've had to pick up some muscle because we know how much Steve Yzerman values two-way play in his forwards. And has that been something that you've been focusing on primarily since you've come over? And how have you and the coaches, including the development staff, approached your conditioning and adjustment to playing in North America and playing with the Griffins?
Yeah, of course, you need to be stronger and faster here. It's more physical ice hockey here. So you need to be strong, and you need to be able to play much games. So of course I had a really good summer back in Sweden when I worked hard. So right now I feel good, and I played all games so far this season, and I'm still feeling fresh in my body. So all the work I did in the summer, I feel I get paying for that.
Yeah, I mean, you've been looking like you've been feeling real good out there. And after the beginning of the season, it looks like you really kind of started to come into your game, playing on a line with Kyle Criscolo and Taro Hiroshi. You guys look like you're just out there having fun, playing loose, and as a result, it's produced some really good hockey. So I got to ask you, I mean, is it as fun as it looks? Because it looks really fun.
Yeah, of course. Hockey is the funniest thing I know in the world, and when you're playing with good teammates and you have success in wins and points, everything gets easier. It's much easier, funnier to go to work every day and put in the work that you need to do every day to get success.
For sure, and to something not so fun. COVID's obviously been a big issue in the league, both in the NHL and the AHL recently. The Red Wings were hit pretty hard, but Coach Jeff Blashill was pretty adamant in keeping you down with Grand Rapids just to build confidence and develop you further. I mean, is this something that you and him really talked about prior to everything going this way?
No, I just talked with him before I was going to Grand Rapids, and he was just told me I need to change some part of my games and just playing big minutes here and do whatever I can to be as good as I can be and be back in Detroit.
Obviously, one of the adjustments to being in a new place, adjusting to the North American game, is that you're 6 hours away, or 6 hours time difference from home, right? And so, how often does your family stay up to catch the games? How often are they talking to you about the games? How are you staying connected to them, especially right now?
Yeah, of course, the time difference is it's tough, especially for them to be up late every day. It's game day, and they're watching every game. And my big brother we talk every day about my game and how's everything going here. So it's been good. Like it's more different with friends. Like they have their life and stuff. So, but so far it's been pretty good.
All right, I'm really curious about this one, actually. The Red Wings, they're an organization that's got a big connection with Sweden. You know, they had 5 players on the 2006 gold medal winning team. You got not only all-time greats like Nick Lidstrom and Henrik Zetterberg, but in the organization today, you still have Nick Kronwall, you got Håkan Andersson. You're coming into your own here on the wings right now. You have Lucas Raymond, Gustav Lindstrom. And then you got Simon Edvinsson, Elmer Soderblom, Theodor Niederbach, William Wallander, and a whole bunch of others on the way. I gotta wonder what impact, if any, did this have on you when you got drafted, and then as you work your way through this organization?
I don't know. It's make it easier to have some Swedish players in your team, like helping you with like the language and the new routines you need to have. So I'm just really happy to have someone to talk Swedish with in the locker room sometimes and stuff. So it's just it's fun.
All right.
I guess speaking of your teammates, is there any kind of plans for you and the team heading into Christmas, or is it more or less flying solo?
No, I am my girlfriend here, so this is the first Christmas I have with her alone. So we will try to have Swedish Christmas so much you can have. So we're trying to figure out how to buy meatballs and every Swedish candy they like. So it's just me and her.
Yeah, I guess IKEA would play a big factor in that. I got to ask you, you've been in North America playing now for a little bit, and I guess you've kind of seen some North American play style before you came over here. What's the biggest difference on ice between playing in Sweden versus playing on this side of the world?
I think back in Sweden you have more time because obviously the ice is bigger, and here it's more it's more dump and chase here. You have so much less time, so you can't not always try to find the play that I did it back in Sweden. So sometimes you need to take play the easy game because otherwise it will be tough to make when you have so much less ice. So I think that's the biggest difference, and all the fighting. It's a lot of fighting compared to Sweden.
Oh, that's for sure. I got one more. So obviously you've had to transition on the ice, but what about off the ice? What's it been like moving to Grand Rapids? And just for fun, is there anybody you can call your best friend already?
No, it must be Victor, my Swedish. So it's been fun to watch and learn how it is to live here, like your routines and how you see things and stuff. So it's been fun to food here. It's a lot of food, and it's so much bigger than back in Sweden. I ordered a medium popcorn when I was saw a movie, and that's not the medium popcorn in Sweden.
Everything's bigger, right? God.
Yeah, a lot bigger.
All right, we're gonna go and transition into a bit of a rapid fire segment here for you, Jonatan. So, what was the biggest goal of your career, or the favorite goal that you've ever scored?
My favorite goal. I'm more a passer, so I don't score so much. But,
we'll apply that to your favorite assist too.
My favorite goal. I don't know. Maybe it was my first SHL goal, or I did a pretty nice goal against in Champions Hockey League when I was 18, 19, I think. It got pretty big hype on the internet, so that was pretty fun. That's the one that comes up to mind.
All right, what's your favorite pre-game meal?
Pre-game meal. I'm a pasta bolognese, but I have ketchup. And the first time I had ketchup here, everyone looked at me that I was an idiot. So I understand that ketchup on pasta is a Swedish thing.
I did not know that. Today years old.
No.
So I myself, I just moved to Grand Rapids, so I've got to know: have you gotten a chance to check out all the breweries, and if so, what's your favorite one?
Burgers. What did you say?
Oh, breweries.
What's that?
Like place where they make beer.
Oh, I don't drink beer actually.
Oh,
Gotcha.
Oh,
Yeah,
Fair enough.
I'm more a how do you say it? Like cider guy,
cider. Yeah,
Fair
he's a good
enough.
fan.
and I'm more a wine guy too. So
Oh, fair. Oh, I like it.
I'm
It's classy.
maybe too young to like beer. Give me 2-3 years.
I'm going to say we're a bunch of old guys on this show, I guess.
hey, I'm
Yeah.
a year younger than you.
I had
Oh,
fun
God.
story last year with my team in Skellefteå. I was buying like alcohol to the team after the game. So I buy the one full pack of cider because the older guys was not happy about it.
Hey, cider's pretty good.
Yeah. Let's say pregame in the locker room. Do you have like a go-to song to kind of pump you up before the games?
I have some routines, pretty long list I do every day, every game day. So I have some songs I listen to when I go to the rink and stuff, but I'm not the guy who's charging in the locker room of the music. So in the locker room, I'm just
Who is that guy on the Griffins that controls the radio?
I have no idea actually.
Ooh.
All right. We
I
got
think it's different people every game.
Okay.
Do they have a good taste of music?
Yeah, I like that.
All right.
So far, it's so good.
So far, so good. All right.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, just a bit early on, a couple months into your North American career, or actually, yeah, let's go with everything. Best arena you've ever played in, like across your entire career.
Best arena. Did I play against? Malmö in Sweden has a really, really good arena that is pretty new. So I think their away locker room is better than most home locker room in the Sweden league. So, but the ice is bad there. So, but the locker room is nice.
So is it a trade-off between the two then?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh God. All right. Well, another one here. Are you a dog person or a cat person?
No, I'm a dog. I buy the dog 3 years ago on my own. So I have a little poodle. His name's Charlie. It's a girl. So someone think it's weird that her name is Charlie, but for me, it's Charlie's a girl name.
Yeah.
I guess the final question from me would be more or less IKEA. Yay, nay, good, bad?
IKEA?
IKEA.
Yep.
Yeah. Actually, I think we will go 23rd to IKEA. Me and my girlfriend and Victor and his girlfriend. So it will be nice. Taste some Swedish meatballs again. It was a long time ago.
You got
It's
the whole
not
Swedish
too
mafia.
far of a drive.
All right. Well, Jonatan, I just got to say, I mean, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on here. I know we've all enjoyed your time. We can't thank you enough. And I just want to say from the team here at Field Pass to yourself, good jul.
Very good in Swedish.
All right.
Almost
Yeah.
better than my
Let's go.
English.
I've had that phrase circled on my calendar for about a week now. I want to make sure I didn't screw it up. All right. Well, for those of us listening in North America, I just wish Jonatan Merry Christmas there. So again, I hope you enjoy your holiday with your girlfriend, and I hope you wish the best in health and happiness for you and your family.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks.
Take care.
Take care, Jonatan.
You too.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Jonathan.
What a guy.
What a guy.
Also, you would expect.
I wish he had
I
like
don't
a
know.
vlog so I could see that IKEA trip. I'm totally into that, man.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. Him
No
and
doubt.
I don't think it was explained well enough, but Victor was Victor Bradstrom. He's the backup goalie to Calvin Pickard. So naturally, he hasn't seen the ice since like the beginning of November. But I mean, it's cool that he's got another Swede on the team, so they can kind of just like be Swedish together along with their girlfriends. And it's great. But yeah, no, that was awesome. He's a really entertaining character.
Big time
He's
shout
only
out to
you.
you for getting that organized, because that's good work. That was a lot of fun.
I mean, thanks. Like I said, I just sent an email and said, hey, can we make this happen? And then I wasn't even half expecting like an answer, let alone a full on like, yeah, we'll do it. So thanks to Andrew Streidel. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But if you're still tuned in after the Berggren interview, thanks for helping me get this set up. It was wonderful.
This is an awesome guy. Yeah.
Well, I guess
we'll probably see him in the NHL soon.
Yeah.
The way he's trending.
He's not gonna be in Grand Rapids for long. So I'm glad we got him now. So that way, we'll see. I don't know.
Well, lots of AHL hockey around this week, of course. Well, somewhat. There was supposed to be. We are going to start with some breaking news. If you were planning on watching an AHL game this week, it's probably not going to happen unless you're like one of 4 games. We had some postponed games with Tuesday, Utica at Belleville, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, and Toronto, Manitoba and Texas, as well as Wednesday, Chicago and Cleveland, Providence and Syracuse, Tucson and Abbotsford, Manitoba and Texas, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, and Rochester. As well as Thursday, Texas and Abbotsford, Chicago and Cleveland, and Belleville and Toronto. I guess a lot of that has to do with the border being pretty well closed. Hey, guys?
Yeah, you're looking at a lot of those matchups, and that's a lot of cross-border teams going there. Manitoba, Texas, Wilkes-Barre, Toronto. You get a couple here and there. The Wolves in Chicago just got racked with some protocols, so their game, this would be yesterday, went against the Monsters, and today against the Monsters. Those are canceled. So, or not canceled, postponed. We don't want to say canceled. But yeah, you can see the trend here with the border travel, and this is it's not looking good going into the new year.
No, and you know what? I know this episode is going to come out on Thursday, so this is a retroactive statement, but I do have tickets to the Griffins Admirals game on Wednesday, and so if you're listening to the show on Thursday and that game got canceled, just like send me a heart on Twitter.
Postponed.
Postponed.
Not canceled.
Postponed. I'm going to keep doing that for the rest of the year. I know I am.
Yeah. Well, I apologize for like already wiring your brain into that. It's a tough one out there. And we can imagine, like you said, we're recording on Tuesday night. This gets released on Thursday. You can imagine Thursday morning when this drops, that list is going to just get longer. Like we've all seen what it's been doing in the NHL. I think from 10 scheduled games down to 1, and I don't even know if that one's going to be happening, but so far, it is. And right now, it's got that March 2020 feeling where it's like there's a lot of problems and there haven't been a lot of solutions, unfortunately. So if you guys didn't get enough of March 2020, well, here's March 2020 part 2.
Oh God.
Oh, I'm good on that, but thank you. Thank you for the offer.
Let's not have another repeat of that. Well, I mean, there. Oh yeah, go ahead, Jeremy. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Well, just bring you the one game that's currently going on. At least there is AHL hockey. Got the Phantoms playing the Bears. Currently, the Phantoms are up 2-0 at the end of the second period. Goals from Charlie Gerard and Connor Buneman. So, yeah, I mean that's at least there's hockey being played, and that's really one positive.
Yeah, that's really impressive because Jerry Mayhew just got called up to Philly. So I mean, somehow I guess they're playing games there. But it's impressive number 2 because Lehigh Valley's up 2-0, and we're going into the third period. I don't know how often that's happened this year, but hey, history is there to be made.
I think it's all those weeks and weeks of us just bashing Lehigh Valley. And finally, they win over Hershey, who we also bash every week. So I think that it's a good little matchup, if I do say so myself. A week in review, I guess. Some good news on that front. Chase Prisky from Charlotte is named the player of the week with 2 goals, 4 assists through 4 games. I guess besides that, the week looked like canceled games, I suppose, and empty arenas.
Week looked a lot of very PPD over the last week. But yeah, Jeremy, I don't know if you want to give us a little on Prisky, because when we recorded last week, I know he was kind of pumping his numbers up along with the rest of the Charlotte Checkers.
Yeah, woof.
We didn't get a chance to talk about that last week.
Yeah. I mean, tough, right? Like how it's something that hasn't happened in the AHL all that often. I think maybe it only happened one other time, if I'm not mistaken, that an AHL team had scored 10 goals, and Charlotte put up 11 against Rochester, which, I mean, in a lot of ways is kind of a product of Rochester being in a weird place right now with things happening in Buffalo. But yeah, you don't walk away from the arena after giving up 11 goals feeling all too great. So yeah, I mean, good on him. I mean, honestly, like, I'm shocked to know that like 6 points in 2 games is like all that somebody was able to acquire last week for the Checkers. But nevertheless, yeah. The worst part is they went 0 for 3 on the power play.
Oh,
yeah.
Really?
Oh, that was all even strength, huh?
Yep, on 33 shots. So
oh baby. Wow.
That's a bad day. That is a bad day.
And we've said on the podcast before too that it would be a team like Charlotte that would just completely upset things.
It's just, yeah, because I mean, you had Matt Robson and Michael Hauser, who are Cincinnati Cyclones. Like you're watching, like, this is a Cyclones goalie room, like, playing for Buffalo or Rochester right now, excuse me. And so, yeah, but Michael Hauser only let up 1 goal in the third period. So good on House.
Yeah, it's all about looking at things on the positive light. I appreciate that about you, Jeremy.
I do what I can, because you can't leave a game 11-1 without at least trying to do that.
That's true.
Hey, I guess it means that they were only down by 9 in that case. That was pretty well a good oof, but I think that there was a little bit of a better oof that came out of a game between Texas and the Rockford Icehogs.
Oh.
We're working on getting that to you.
He's working on it. Yeah, it's one of those things. It was pretty well an own goal, and it just about costed him the game too, from what I can gather. It's just one of those bad plays, man. Like, you can't buy a break.
You know, it was a bad play, but it was a great play at the same time because of the result. And that result is that Colin Delia scored a goal. And that sounds amazing, because he's a goalie. He's supposed to be stopping, not scoring them. So anytime we get a goalie goal, it's got to be mentioned on the pod. I mean,
we haven't had a good goalie goal in a while.
Yeah, I wouldn't call that a good goalie goal, because it was like, oh, let me try and pass to the point. Oh, no one's there except my net. So like, Delia made a save. Puck ends up on Star's forward stick, and then it ends up in the net. So it wasn't like a straight up like snipe from 200 feet away, but it's still a goalie goal. They don't ask how; they ask how many. So that's what we're here for.
Someone needs to give goalies authorizations to just completely roof it from their own crease.
Yeah. I'm all for like if a goalie shoots for an empty net, there should be no icing. Like I want to encourage as many goalie opportunities on net as possible.
They could always do the old Patrick Raw, just dangle towards center ice and then see where that gets them.
Just dangle the great one at center ice. Yeah, not a big deal.
Of course. Yeah, right?
I guess it was the one time he was able to give a taste of his own medicine. Let's move now to our next segment. This is a fun one. The swipe left or swipe right segment. We had a super swipe last week, so swipe right is good. A super swipe, we get one a month, and the deadline for that is fast approaching. And there's hot takes from all around the league. We'll start with Andrew, who's in. Let me find the corner down there.
There it is. Yeah, that's me.
Well,
5-3.
Right. So last week, I went and sang the praises of a last place team, Texas, for not being as bad as their record indicates. Well, then Texas went and scored on their own goal, so that shows how much I know. This week, I'm going to go in on a team that's up there in the standings, but I don't think it's as good as their record indicates, and that's the Rockford Icehogs. And yeah, they had a goalie goal, and they've managed to kind of fumble their way into a couple of wins, and they're up in the third spot in the Central, and it's like, yeah, great. I mean, it's wonderful. Then you look and you realize that they have the worst goal differential of any team in the Central that didn't put Ben Bishop out there for the first time in 2 years and give up 8 goals. So if you take that game away, it's the Ice Hogs, and so you're looking at like how they've managed to get it in third, and I feel like they're gonna turn into a pumpkin pretty soon here, and I think they're gonna go meet the Stars pretty close there in the standings.
Ooh.
I think I'm gonna like you on that one because I have a bad feeling about Rockford. I think that they have cement shoes, and they're cemented all the way down at the bottom with Milwaukee. I think it's a race for last place all the time. So I think that they've gotten a little lucky in the past couple of games, and I mean an own goal kind of helps. And like you mentioned with the goal differential, it's just not there. And I just don't see the team there to be able to build anything past second or third last place.
Mm-hmm.
No, and I think too on top of that, like you've got teams right now in the division that are just also kind of slumping at the exact right time to kind of elevate Rockford, right? So you've got Iowa that is playing like well below where they started the season. You've got a Griffins team that could probably be playing better. I will say that my hot take was almost that the Admirals would make the playoffs, but I decided that I wasn't bold enough yet. So like I'm gonna flag it for like 3 weeks away. Like maybe I'll still like be bold enough to say that. But I am gonna swipe right. I do think that this Rockford team is not as good as the record shows. Only about half or about 5/10, no, 5/100. Math is hard. Of a percentage away from being out of the playoffs. So yeah, I'm gonna swipe right.
I'll play a little bit of devil's advocate, but there is something to be said about capitalizing on what other teams give you. I mean, sure, other teams are slumping at the same time, but that's not something Rockford can control. And even though they've gotten quite a bit lucky as of late, especially with it, there's something to be said about getting results and getting the job done, even if it isn't pretty. That being said, I will also swipe right because I genuinely don't think that this keeps up. As much as I feel that they're getting the job done, but I don't think they'll be able to continue to do so, especially once like a team, like you see how Milwaukee's heating up already, and you just kind of look at that and go, well, they're playing better hockey than Rockford, and standings really, that's pretty much all. That's pretty much all I got.
All right. Well, we got a storied history on this pod of me giving off hot takes and then teams going the exact opposite direction with that. And now as I think about it, I'm like really worried because the Wolves are here on a 12-game winning streak. Their next, with the postponements, their next shot is 13 is New Year's Eve against Rockford. Oh no, what
That could be a fun one, though. That could be a fun one. Are you getting out and covering that one, or are you going to be?
That one's
elsewhere?
in Rockford. I might. I'm still. I know it's kind of the 11th hour, 11th episode, 11th hour, but I'm still kind of making plans for New Year's Eve here. And again, I don't want to be on the road out on I-94, and then it's like, oh hey, postponed. So we're gonna. I think we're gonna play the wait and see game on that one. But I would love it for a shot at 13. I would love it.
I think Chicago should be fine because I haven't jinxed their playoff predictions yet.
Oh God.
Sweet of you.
Just you wait.
Goodness. Well, I'm going to go on a limb. Speaking of postponements, as you're driving down 94, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that when we look at the end of the season, that the AHL is going to have less postponed games than the NHL is going to have.
Well, the AHL doesn't have a roster. They're all up playing in the big clubs.
Oh, that's true.
Hey,
so
you tell that to Matt Robson and Michael Hauser.
Oh.
yeah,
Who's got 11 hung on them. You tell that to them.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, I'll swipe right on that. I mean, logistically, it should be more realistic for the AHL to finish off its season, even though they're getting absolutely decimated with all the call-ups. I mean, hell, I had to pick up Akira Schmid on my fantasy team because I need that extra start. And he's like tearing it up with Utica, and now he's not there. But I mean, like, I realistically, I see the AHL finishing the season, and with less cancellations, but it's also really hard to tell at this stage, especially with everything going on.
Yeah, it's because of that. I don't even know where to go. I'm like swipe down. It's like totally because, like I said, it's got that feeling of like first stage COVID where it's like we don't even know what's going on. There's no like real contingency in place with the border and everything, and you don't know how these rosters are going to shape up. Are they going to bring taxi squads back? Who knows? And so I will swipe right on this one for you, but I can't be held accountable for what I might say afterwards.
After we match.
God. Well, I can tell you, Abbotsford played with 5 D-men. One of them was on the ECHL ATO, so like it's not pretty.
No, I didn't say it's going to be good hockey. I just said it's going to happen.
It's going to be okay. It's going to be there.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of in the same boat. I think that there's going to be less postponements only because in the AHL it's so much easier to get a call up. You can call up from the ECHL. The Canadian last year we kind of seen them kind of dabble into the OHL and the WHL and the Quebec majors as well. And I think that there's other players that they have kind of scattered around and they can get a couple players on the PTO, no problem. So I'm kind of in the same boat that we'll have less cancellations. How much less? Probably not a whole lot, but that's where I'm at with it.
I'll take it.
So I hate to rag out another team, but I think that's my whole purpose on this podcast is to just absolutely tear people to shred. And I'm convinced that Lehigh Valley will finish last place this year. They got it clinched right now.
In the league.
In the whole league.
Okay.
I mean, I've been noted. My attitude on Lehigh Valley has soured since I picked them to win the division to where they're at now. And I've kind of used them as my own speed bag over the last couple of weeks, but I'm going to have to swipe left on this because the San Jose Barracuda do exist. And I don't know. They're bad.
Evander Kane?
How long is he going to be there?
That doesn't care, doesn't try in the locker room. That's just going to make it worse.
He just needs to bet on himself.
Oh, we already used that joke last week. You can't double dip.
Tough.
Oh my God. I'm crying.
Oh man,
welcome to your favorite hour and a half of the week there, Mike.
Yeah, right. Welcome. You picked a heck of a one to start in on. I'll say I'm gonna swipe left too. Because the Barracuda are gonna, not the Barracuda, the Sharks are gonna get rid of him, and or something's gonna happen, right? Like, or are they gonna have a choice? Like, are the Sharks gonna have a choice depending on what's going on with COVID as to whether or not like they can call him up and like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I'm gonna swipe left.
Well, hey, the Nets brought back Kyrie Irving, so anything can happen, right?
Oh man, oh man.
I'll swipe left as well because Barracuda lost 7-1 to Abbotsford, and that's my impression of them. Abbotsford has been very up and down, so they exist. And Lehigh Valley, I don't even feel that they're the worst team in their division. I feel that honestly, the Islanders could out-tank them. That's just how I feel.
That's true. They got what, a 4-point lead on them with 4 games. I feel like Lehigh can lose a couple in OT, getting claw back into the race there.
Exactly.
I'm not convinced that Wilkes-Barre Scranton's not going to be really bad too before the end of the year. Like, I'm not convinced that like we're not going to look at this division at the end of the year and go, what happened? Because they've scored 51 goals in 22 games. They're not scoring at all.
We're back to early 90s hockey here.
Right.
Just running the trap and Wilkes-Barre.
Multiple Minnesota Wilds stacking up the AHL. God.
Goodness.
All right. Well, here's my hot take. I think that there might be an all-Canadian division in the works with how the border's looking and how basically it's all the Canadian AHL teams that have had the most postponements because of how complicated all the travel advisories are and everything. I want to say that they might have another quote-unquote North division, just north of the border. Eliminates most of the complications and still gets games in. So that's my hot take.
Yeah, and this Orwellian nightmarish scenario, I'm gonna have to swipe right on that. And it's kind of like they're gonna kind of go in with what works and what's been proven to work. And last year was it wasn't pretty, but it worked. So we'll again, it's so hard to predict right now, and I'm not any kind of like virologist or have any idea of what's even going on in the world. But I try, and from a hockey standpoint, it makes sense. So I'm going to swipe right on
it. Oof. Yeah, I'm going to have to give that a super swipe because I think that if it's not if it's not just an American side and a Canadian side, they'll go back to the way that they were. It's going to really suck this much more this time because now they have to go all the way down to Abbotsford instead of Calgary, which is another full province over. And I don't know what's going to happen for Stockton again. Are they just going to fly home to mommy and daddy? But nonetheless, I think that it's going to – I liked it last year. I think the Canadian division last year was actually half exciting. So for them to be able to do that again this year, I can't see it not happening.
Oh no. I was not feeling as confident in that until literally all of you were like, yeah, it's gonna happen. I'm like, oh no, what do you mean? It's not that I don't feel like it's possible, like you said, Andrew, it's Orwellian, anything can happen at this point. I'm beyond the point of dismissing anything as impossible. I just don't.
You just got that positive perspective about you that just won't allow this to happen until it actually happens.
I just can't see it though, right? Because it complicates a lot of other things too. Correct me if I'm wrong because I should know this. Where are we at on affiliations? Do we have any affiliations across the border?
Yep.
What
do you do? Calgary.
Let's go through the list.
That's it.
Yeah,
Bakersfield.
Bakersfield.
Edmonton.
Yeah, Bakerfield's Edmonton. Calgary's got Stockton. So it's those two.
So I wonder, right? What can you do with those teams, right? Because if you're trying to mitigate this? And like we know that like between the countries, like different restrictions have been put in place. Like, what do you do for those two teams? Like, do you just make like Stockton and Bakersfield go north and play in the Canadian division? That could actually be fun. I could actually
That's what
enjoy
happened
that.
last year with Stockton.
That's true.
Last year,
That's true.
Utica was with Vancouver, and it was also
Oh God, I don't want to even talk about what happened in Utica. Oh my God.
and as well as Bakerfield. So, yeah, Vancouver and Edmonton were kind of stuck in a pickle a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna swipe left. I'm gonna swipe left. All that to say, I'm swiping left. I just don't. I also know that like money is so important to all this whole entire thing, and I know that like things in health and safety are going to be sacrificed for money to happen, and I think that that's where we're gonna find ourselves. So I'm gonna swipe left, but it could happen.
Hey, a right swipe, a super swipe, and a left swipe on his first appearance on Swipe Left and Swipe Right. Michael, how are you?
Wow, hat trick.
Hey, you only get one of those a month. You got to use it wisely, Michael.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Well, it resets now soon. So on that note, let's turn into the top scorers and point getters. The skaters division shows Podorowski, who is still lighting up the AHL, 34 points in 23 games played. I want to keep it in mind as well that Chicago has the top two players in points getters, CJ Smith coming out of nowhere again. And he's been absolutely lighting things up.
And I also have at number 8 the third member of that top line, Stefan Nazin, over there with a casual little 24 points in 23 games. Now that
no big deal, right?
Yeah, no, not at all. And that whole top line was called up to Carolina when they're sitting there racked with COVID, along with Josh Levo and Jack Drury. And Chicago still managed to grind out a 1-0 win in overtime over Milwaukee. So they're I don't know how they do it. That was very much a patchwork roster, but they gotta do what you gotta do to get that win.
That's for sure.
Also want to shout out one of Jeremy's players, Jack Quinn. I mean, a lot of people ragged on him for the draft, a lot of people ragged on the Sabres for drafting him where he was drafted. But the guy's been putting together a really solid campaign. 24 points in 17 games, pretty solid, especially for a rookie.
Yeah, he was at the top of this list for a while here until Podorowski decided to just go Thanos on the rest of the Central Division.
Fair.
Yeah, no, it really wasn't. But yeah, Jack, he's a name we said a lot here on this pod, and he's just been amazing to do what he's been doing as a rookie and kind of helping pace that squad over there in Rochester. That's got a lot of talent along with it. It's a lot of fun. Jeremy, he's a little spoiled over there watching the end.
Yeah, the hockey's been hit or miss though in terms of like when it actually gets played. A lot of cancellations, so I've been kind of like twiddling my thumbs over here. Postponements. Oh my god. We need a PPD sign. that we just hold up whenever anybody says the word cancellation.
Yeah. Oh, live score alert. See what happens as soon as I start talking. The San Jose Barracuda are up 1-0 on the Colorado Eagles in the first period.
Now you wish that you had that beautiful profile picture of Lehigh Valley. She's looking like a 10 out of 10 right now, I can tell you. It's a beautiful super swipe that you just missed out on.
Oh my goodness.
Story about
marker.
But Jeremy, he's pretty lucky. He's also got the top goal scorer as well. Michael Murch, he's I totally butchered that. 23 games played, 14 goals. Martin Ferk is up there in second, and Sheldon Dries.
Yep.
I totally butchered that one as well. But they're both tied with 13 with Scott Reedy.
Murchie is just like incredibly underrated. Like nobody really talks about Michael Mersch the way that they probably should. Like obviously like a hell of a leader for the team, but also just like has kind of always scored goals in a quiet manner in the AHL. And so I'm not super surprised to see that he's scoring that way. I am like a little bit surprised that he's caught up because like it just seems like there are so many other players in the race, but yeah, you've got to be happy for him. He's 29-year-old, having a good time, but he's had multiple 20-goal seasons, so we'll see if he can. Obviously, he's for his best season ever at 29, so we'll see what happens.
Martin Ferg. God. Martin Ferg terrifies me every time he steps on the ice. Like, he is just so involved in everything. I'm almost surprised he doesn't have more goals than 13. Just from the way how he's involved in every play he is on the ice. It's ridiculous.
Just the way that he can shoot the puck.
It's crazy. It's just unreal contributor at the AHL level.
It's called ducking. It's a great tactic for goaltenders, and that's why I was terrible. Jacob Pelletier headlines the rookies skaters for Stockton with 10 goals, 17 assists, and 27 points through 23 games. Jack Quinn's not far behind. We've talked about him before. 24 points, 22 Scott Reedy, and Matthias Maselli has got 21 in fourth place.
McKelly is someone that he flies under the radar. Also, I didn't realize that he was Finnish until I searched him up on HockeyDB. I thought that last name was very aggressively Italian for me. Obviously, I'm just projecting here, but he can shoot the puck. Like, his release is unreal. I mean, if he gets more experience, like that's a weapon. That's a weapon that Arizona has in their system.
And number 6 hanging around, our boy Scott Brunovich.
How?
He hasn't played in the AHL game in a month.
Yeah, it's important to note that number 1 has 7 more points than Brunovich and also 10 plus games played.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And he's a defenseman. I keep
and
saying
he's
that.
a defenseman.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Looking on the goal side, it's Scott Reedy leading up that charge with Jack Quinn, Pelletier, and the list goes on. Scott Reedy has kind of been a real standout in my eyes. Not somebody I was entirely expecting to light up the league, but he's doing it.
Yeah, and he's in staying power. He's been up there at the top of the rookie goal scoring for quite a while. I think he had an early season hat trick to boost his numbers, and he's just managed to carry the momentum past beyond a guy like Jack Quinn and Jacob Pelletier, who are some big talents in their own rights. So I think that just speaks to the kind of game that Reedy plays.
I think it's also it's important to take that with a grain of salt too, because the difference between the number of games played is kind of staggering. Because you look at some teams like Rockford, who's only been able to play 17, and so is Rochester. But other teams like Charlotte have 27 games under their belt.
Rockford's
got 23. Lucas Reichel, he kind of started off on fire there for the Icehogs, but he, I believe he sustained a concussion, and that kind of put him into the protocol. And he, I don't think he's played since then. Unfortunately, he's been kind of battling through that injury. But I mean, yeah, to see those gameplay, the discrepancies there. So when you see a guy with 17 games that scored as many goals as a guy who's played 27 for Charlotte, I think that just speaks to the kind of talent that they bring to the table.
That's for sure. Looking at the goaltending stats, where the best goals against average actually belongs to a Utica Comet, which isn't surprising to me considering how much we've talked about how stacked their goaltending is, especially at such a young age. And that's Akira Schmid. and Alex Lyon is just not far behind. And Lyon wasn't somebody I was entirely expecting to be at the top of the league to start the season.
No, I think he was definitely brought in as kind of like, that number 3 option. I mean, he's been called up to Carolina. I believe he only played 1 game, but he won it, so he can fill in when needed. I think that was just the kind of guy that they were looking for, and he's managed to surprise. Now, granted, he's also on, one of the better teams in the league, and I think that facing as few shots as he does at times, because there are games where the Wolves just kind of take over entire periods. They might give them 4 shots in a period that come from the outside. So, but when he gets tested, he's sharp and focused and ready to come to play. So he's been one of the. I don't want to call him a surprise because it's like, oh, we're surprised that he's playing well. I mean, we kind of expected him to play well, but I don't think we expected him to be top of the league well. But you look at where Makaniemi is; they're not too far away from each other, and in both goals against and save percentage. So you just got to wonder how much of it. Again, I'm trying to make it. I'm not trying to sound like I'm downgrading these guys or anything. They're fantastic goaltenders. I'm just saying I don't think they're putting up these numbers on the Barracuda.
All I wish for was for Akira Schmid to have replicated at least some of the magic he's showing with Utica, with the Devils, but unfortunately he got torched for 5 against the Senators. So I lost that week, so it wasn't great.
Yeah, kind of the same thing, Utica's one thing and the Devils are another.
Another thing.
2 opposite clubs. Let's look at the quest for the Holy Grail. We're going up and down the division standings here. We'll start in the Atlantic, where Springfield still headlines the number 1 seed, but it's Hartford, Providence, and Hershey in those top 4 playoff positions. All the streaks that we talked about in the last game have probably been broken because me and Andrew jinxed them. Sorry. But nonetheless, it's actually quite nice to see Springfield actually getting ahead for once.
Yeah, but look at the point percentage between the 2 of them.
It's so close.
I mean, it almost actually feels impossible. It feels like a rounding error. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it just like feels like
yeah, some kind of computation error there, but we'll see. I mean, Hartford's had a couple games that were postponed, and not canceled, postponed. So we'll see. We'll see if they can carry the momentum there. But I like the Wolfpack.
I think Hershey's been one of those teams that's really been. I expected them to not be on the same level that they were, but until they start getting players back from Washington, I think that Hershey's just going to be in this endless rut of just mediocrity.
I think, you're just this is kind of what they are, and this is kind of their identity at this point, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, they're more or less giving up as many goals as they're scoring, which can also be said for the Bruins, the Checkers, if you take the Rochester game away. So those 3, 4, and 5 spots, they're pretty tightly compact with some teams that are still kind of figuring their identity out. I see that Hershey's still reaping the benefits of Dylan McElrath by having an astronomical lead in the penalty minute department. And maybe that's their identity. Maybe they're just gonna kind of grind it out in some of these low scoring games and try and nickel and dime you to death. Worked in the playoffs before.
Looking at the North Division, where I've been thoroughly impressed with Utica as well. Points in their last 7 games, really. But I can't stress how tight this division actually is. So the top 6 teams all are above 500. And even that 3, 4, 5 spot, there's not a whole lot really separating them. It's only like 4%. So the number 3 spot is at 54%, and the number 5 spot is at 52. Oh, so there you go. It's even worse. Utica, Rochester, Laval, Cleveland, and Toronto going down the rundown.
I love the kind of like the whole mindset. I mean, you got 89 goals for Rochester, 85 scored against Laval, 84 scored, 84 against. It's just running and gunning up and down. And then you got Utica, who just doesn't give up any goals. But yeah, I mean, we've highlighted this before. This is going to be a fun division right down to the last day.
For sure.
You can never count out Syracuse as well, just with the experience that they have. Like, and they're not even that far behind, even though they are sub 500. They're barely sub 500. So, like, anything could happen.
Yeah. Said before, hot weekend. That's all you need to get right back into it.
I think Syracuse is kind of hurting a little bit because they don't have that dual affiliation anymore. That's definitely taking a toll on them.
Yeah.
Let's go down to a division that Andrew's a little more familiar with, I'm sure, which is the Central Division. And boy, oh boy, I don't think it's time we stop talking about Chicago, because they have been on fire. Points in their last 13 games, including a 12-1 record. 12-0-1.
That's I'm bringing back bad vibes, because that's a 12-game winning streak, but their last loss was a shootout loss against Rockford. So I am speaking the bad juju in existence. But so Chicago's there. You know, they've won 12 straight, even without their big guns. I mean, they're just all cylinders firing right now. And you got to give credit to Coach Warsofsky for getting all these guys up from the ECHL and meshing them in with his game plan, and to get the players just bought into his system in order to compete and keep this going. It's remarkable. But I can't stress enough, do not sleep on the Manitoba Moose. And if you up there in the north, you get stuck with these guys because of border crossing or something, they're going to be a problem. They come at you, and they're relentless in their attack. And they had a school day game this past week where Manitoba was up 3-1, and Chicago looked like they were back on their heels a little bit. And then one of those call-ups, Kyle Marino decided it's time to drop the gloves and to chuck some knuckles, because you know what, a better way to introduce a bunch of cool kids to hockey and bloody someone's face up.
I've always said that.
Chicago responded with 3 straight goals, including Josh Levo's game winner with 1.1 seconds on the clock. So that was a pretty big statement for the Wolves there. Again, no Podorowski, no CJ Smith, but they find a way, man. So number 3, you got the Icehogs. I talked about them earlier. You know, number 4, Wild. I've been kind of hammering on the Wild lately, and at 2-6-1-1 over your last 10, you kind of deserve it. Follow up down at the bottom there, we got the Griffins, we got the Admirals, and the Texas Stars. So, and kind of a bit of a status quo there in Central.
That's for sure. Pacific Division, it's always a fun race, I think. San Diego has seemed to find their way back down to the bottom of the standings. They went through San Diego and lost the past 3 games. Stockton and Ontario still remain at the top of the division.
Yeah, I remember when we thought San Diego was up and coming. That was fun.
Oh my gosh.
No. We did that one too, didn't we?
I think we did that one too. Yeah. We're just the kiss of death to some of these teams. We're like, oh, I really like what you're doing.
You know who's killing it? You know who's doing really well? Utica. Right? Like, let's see if it works.
Oh God. Oh no.
If it does, you're gonna have a lot of angry fans coming after you, Jeremy.
Oh my God.
13 losses, baby. I said it. I said it on the pod. 13
You did
losses.
actually, yeah. If this goes south, it's on you. Like you called that like
Yeah.
a month and a half ago.
13, yeah.
Just nothing but bad vibes.
There's
Wow.
still
Welcome to
on
the
the
Holy
pace for it.
Grail. Stockton stretched out their gap a bit, but I feel like the Reign slump is more so that they've lost a lot of players to call-ups. I mean, one big name that stands up, Sean Dursey, went up to the NHL, started off point per game. I mean, the Reign definitely missed him on the back end. Like this guy, his hockey IQ, his vision's unreal. Just knows what to do at the right times, and was just elite. I mean, they definitely miss his presence, and it's shown by them pulling off. I mean, full credit for the Heat just taking it and running with it. Henderson, they moved into the new arena, I think, just recently, and I mean, they've been putting together a solid campaign. But you look at this division, and it's really, really competitive as well. Like all there's like 6 teams, and this is a 9-team division, but there's 6 teams at or above 500, and you've got Bakersfield, who's not far away from 500, and they're a decent squad, and they've played less games than everybody else in the division. And then you have San Diego and San Jose, and they just kind of exist in the basement. And that's basically the gist of it. Well, I mean, you got to beat up on someone, right?
Yeah, there's always a speed bag there. Someone's got to be it.
God, San Jose is not great.
So let's while there is very little hockey games to be watching, of course we all have our picks on who to be watching. We'll start in the Atlantic Division, and as always, we'll go in alphabetical order. Poor Andrew, you're on the hot seat.
Poor me. I love this stuff. So my game of the week this week, I got Wednesday's matchup, Hartford going into Bridgeport, and I want to see. We started talking about the Phantoms and the Islanders being on the same level. I'm like, that can't be right. So, they've had a lot of COVID problems in Bridgeport. I want to see them break out of it. And here's a good chance. You got a hungry team in Hartford looking to reclaim the top spot in the division. Prove the world wrong. I want to see the Islanders do it.
This is where like I love us as a group because we always pick different divisions to put interdivisional matchups in.
Yeah.
And so I noticed later that like this is also some folks in the next one, but I think it has to be Utica and Springfield. Like you have to like watch, like you've got the top 2, in the proverbial East, like facing off. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch those teams go at it, and it'll be interesting to see if Utica can keep that team from scoring, and it'll be interesting to see if Utica can score. Like it's going to be good.
For me, I'm cheating a bit because it's exactly a week from now, but I want to see Bridgeport against Springfield. It's honestly, I just want to see what the difference between the top team in the Atlantic and one of the bottom dwelling teams in the Atlantic, and with a team I think should be last. So kind of want to see just what separates them from being good and being in the basement.
Yeah, and for me, it's got to be Hershey and Wilkes-Barre Scranton. I mean, like I said, it's time we start talking about when Hershey is going to get some players back because they've really been gypped. Okay, this is the one time I'm going to stand up for Hershey. They've been gypped, and I think it's about time that Washington starts handing over some of the pieces of the pie, because I think that's an even matchup as it stands right now. Hershey is playing on like 3/4 of a leg, and then there's Wilkes-Barre Scranton.
Can you promise me that there's not fire around you right now? Like, can you make that promise to me?
There's not.
Okay, great. I just want to make sure, like, the level of, like, standing up for Hershey, the level of anger. I'm like, let me just make sure.
The tree's loading up very suspiciously behind you.
I'm nervous.
As we go into the north here, I got kind of what Jeremy alluded to earlier. I got Wednesday's Utica at Springfield game. I mean, I think Utica, they've been postponed, and then they play a game, and then they get postponed again. I got to see if this roller coaster is going to hurt the momentum, as it's probably going to hurt a lot of teams here in this league. But hopefully not, because these are two of the top teams in their respective divisions going head to head. We love to see it.
I think I'm like, we're missing Dina this week, and it's just hard for me to like remember that I'm after you now. I think for me, going back to some interdivisional matchup, I think, Grand Rapids and Cleveland, which I know some folks in the Central, this is my fault, but it's just an anomaly when those two teams play. Like, neither team actually plays to the season that they're having when they play each other, which is just fascinating. And so that'll be fun to see what happens.
For me, I want to see Utica Rochester. Both New York teams, if my American geography serves me well. It's nothing. I can't lie. I don't remember everything off the top of my head anymore. But
now you killed it.
All right. There's nothing like two interstate teams being like really, really good on top of their game. I mean, Utica's obviously been great this season, but I love the talent that they have up in Rochester. I mean, Peyton Krebs coming over from the Vegas system. I mean, I got to see him a bit in the WHL, and he's just one of the best players I've ever seen live. Just talent-wise, he's got everything. So that's just one thing I want to see.
Yeah, and I pretty well have to agree too. I think the talent on both Utica and Rochester will make for a good game. It's one of those things where I think Rochester, they do have the ability to be one of the best teams in the division, but in such a tight division, I don't know. It's so hard to really judge how well they're playing when they're up against some strong competitors in Toronto. Maybe it's time to start looking at, hey, is Rochester just one of those teams that is going to struggle against Cleveland and Toronto and Belleville?
Moving on into the Central here, I got, again, kind of following Jeremy's lead, going interdivisional with Grand Rapids at Cleveland. And last time we saw this matchup, Grand Rapids played what I thought was their best period of hockey of the season. And then the Monsters kind of took it to them after that, and Grand Rapids ended up holding on for a win. So I want to know what team's showing up tonight, and I want to see what's going to be thrown in the mix here. These are always a fun one.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm watching Iowa and Rockford because I think that is kind of what we alluded to earlier in the show, right? Like, you've got a Rockford team that's probably playing a little bit, too rich for the expectations, and then you've got, an Iowa team that's doing the opposite. And so it's it'll be interesting to see if that continues or if they keep doing what Michael said and just like taking advantage of the situations that they're given. Yeah, like they should probably lose to Iowa, but if Iowa comes in and plays the way they've played recently, then they won't, and good on them for taking advantage of it.
In the notes here, I literally put all the teams I want to see are postponed. And I feel that reflects how I'm feeling about this matchup. It's not that I don't want to watch, but I really want to see Manitoba and Texas. But obviously, with the border, that's not happening. So I don't have a game to pick from the Central, unfortunately.
It's all right. Once they start postponing every game every week, we'll just have like a NHL simulation going on, and we'll just be like, "Oh, that was a great game."
I know. I had
recaps I'll ever write.
I had a couple friends say they wanted to do like live recaps or like live streams of like Live Barn, like just like do like beer league games.
I can dig it. I can also dig Iowa and Rockford. I think they're two pretty well even teams. Poor Iowa can't catch a break. I don't know why. I think they just look lost on the ice. And Rockford definitely has some concrete shoes, and they just love that basement feel. It's nice and chilly. So, I mean, for me, I'm going with those two guys, and I want to see someone actually step up to the plate. It's a challenge.
We'll see. I'll see about that one as we move on over to the Pacific. I got Monday, Ontario at San Diego, and again, I just want to say, remember when we thought San Diego was this fun up and coming team? Good times. I for one though, I don't want to see the goals in the basement. I mean, do you see the Barracuda down there? Like, no, come on, get out. So They got a tough week ahead of them. They got Stockton coming in, and then Ontario. So you got the top 2 teams. You got to step it up to get out of this awful funk here.
Yeah, I think for me, in a similar fashion, it's like you want to see the Barracuda take advantage of the opportunity that they have too, right? Bakersfield's kind of been slumping a little bit, and San Jose is in an interesting spot where they can make up some ground. They've got to see it, and they've got to be like, wow, like there are people like Andrew that are like, the Barracuda are out there. The Barracuda exists. Like like as a justification for all love. But like, if you're them, you've got to want to take it, right? Like you've got to want to take it to Bakersfield, and hopefully they come into that game wanting to prove themselves. And so I'll be checking that one out.
I would love to be bulletin board material for another team. That would be awesome.
They just got you hanging up in the locker room. It's just Andrew on big as hell, like just like.
They're going through warm-ups, just shooting pucks at my face in the locker room. Yeah, I'm down.
They've got like a picture of you on top of the door and just tapping at it with a stick on the way out.
I'm all for it.
Oh, of course. I got same deal, same boat with you, Andrew, but instead I want to see Stockton, San Diego. Of course, I mean, I'm of the opinion that San Diego has a good crew, but they just need to find something. I mean, losing Zegras, losing Drysdale, obviously for better pastures in the NHL, hurts. But they're still a good foundational team there. So against the division leaders, it's a good test. I'm not expecting much, but for a team that's like wanting to get back on track, there's no better test than against the Heat.
Yeah, and it's pretty slim pickings in the Pacific Division, that's for sure. But I think Andrew's right. The Gulls possibly have the team to do things. They just need to do things. And as much as I want to rag on the Gulls for how poor they could, like they have the potential. Like they've clearly shown that they could win hockey games, and they've knocked down some of the better teams in the Pacific in order to win those hockey games. So for me, it's just going back to where they were in that last week. But on that note, I think it's time we close things out before a very Merry Christmas. If you like us, please subscribe and be sure to like and share and tell the podcast to your friends, your beer league friends, and as well as Santa Claus as he comes down the chimney. If you really like us, give us a follow on Twitter, and be sure to check out all of Field Pass Hockey's other podcasts, including Inside the SPHL with James Hayes, Syracuse Speaks with Alexander Ackerman, The Monsters Musings with Andrew Garino, Dina Weinheimer, and Jay Forrester, as well as the 3 Periods podcast with Matt Harding and Matt Will. On behalf of all of us here at the Holy Grail, we hope that you have an excellent Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
This has been the Holy Grail podcast. Have a question or a topic suggestion? Hit us up on Twitter or drop us an email. For the latest news across the American Hockey League and the rest of minor league hockey, download the Field Pass Hockey app, now available in the Apple and Android app stores.